In this podcast, we look at Leaders for Learning, creating vibrant learning environments for children in the early childhood care and education setting. Roscommon County Childcare Committee, in collaboration with Longford County Childcare Committee and the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, are delighted to bring you this podcast, where we talk about the intentional leader as researchers and how we can create vibrant learning environments for children in the early childhood care and education setting.
The topic for right now is the creating vibrant learning environments. And somebody start with the I in PI that I was talking about, the intentionality piece. And once I started thinking about that, about 9 years ago when I got home from Reggio Emilia, I started seeing quotes and thoughts everywhere. I think the more you become aware of something, the more it shows up in your life. So this is a quote that I think about often. Intentionality. When we create something, we always create it first in a thought form. If we are basically positive in attitude, expecting and envisioning pleasure, satisfaction, and happiness, we will attract and create people, situations, and events which conform to our positive expectations. Kind of starts us off where we left off, right? If we are believing the best about children, about our colleagues, about their families, about our school environments, we are more likely to bring out the best in that situation. When people say, I'm never going to be able to do that this year because we are self-limiting ourselves over and over and over. So we want to open ourselves up to what's possible and start thinking in the very possible ways. It's funny that one of my teachers was really into this book back in Boston, The Secret. Was that popular here? It was on Oprah's book club. The house that I'm staying in over on Pontoon Lake in Mayo, that was on the bookshelf. And I thought, oh, this must be a book that's popular here as well. But that whole book was about being intentional, thinking about what we want to create, envisioning what we want to create, and then living in that world, rather than spending all of this negative energy thinking about what's never going to happen. Shortly after I came back, this book was published by the National Association for the Education of Young Children called The Intentional Teacher. I thought, oh, it's not only me, this is kind of growing. And Ann Epstein talks about this. If we're going to be intentional, we have to act purposefully with a goal in mind, and then have a plan for accomplishing it. Sometimes we come up with these great ideas, and what do? Nothing. It doesn't go anywhere. If we're intentional, we think about the great idea, and then we come up with some plans to step forward. Maybe our plan goes this way, and what actually happens goes this way, but at least we're moving forward, right? So we want to have those plans. We want to be intentional, we want to be planful, and we want to try to bring these things to life. And that is really the best message I can give you about how to start transforming your environment. How many people feel there's room to grow, to improve your environment into something more vibrant and positive for children and adults? Yeah, there's always room to grow. And that's why just some of the basic principles that really tie into this vibrant environment. The first one ties beautifully into what we talked about all morning, the image of the child. What is your image of the child? If I believe children are needy and frustrating and demanding and spoiled, what then am I creating for them? When we have a strong image of the child, and these are words that I see over and over in the Reggio literature, children are curious, capable, passionate learners, active citizens with rights. The environments are set up to support children in their quest for knowledge, respecting how children learn, that children are capable of learning, that we don't have to spoon feed them the knowledge, is really, really powerful. If you have time in your own groups, in your schools, one of my favorite activities to do for a staff meeting is to ask everyone to bring a photograph that depicts their image of the child, and share the photographs and the words. And as like we did with the image this morning, as we collect the words that come up, no matter what your image is, are you going to see a consensus on a lot of the words? that you can start crafting your image of the child for your classroom team, for your program. So really thinking about that. I think it's something we've been doing a lot of work on educating children, but we've kind of distanced ourselves from the heart of this, the image of the child. The second principle, teacher is researcher. How many of you walk around and wear that badge, teacher is researcher? How are we observing our environments? How are we observing children? How are we creating new experiences? All of that is research. I know that Irene used research, as a researcher in her role many, many times. Every one of you is a researcher. Anytime you say, I wonder what's going on with that child, I wonder where we should go with this, I wonder what activity we should pick, we are all putting on the hat of researcher. And the more we do that, the richer the environment becomes. Teachers, as researchers, you become more valued, more intentional, more connected to the ideas in the environment, and you tap into whose expertise and knowledge? Your own. It's all there. How do we think about it in different ways to let it out? The next piece of that teacher is researcher, and that came up when we talked a little bit about play this morning, that teachers are active learners along with the children. I think we sometimes mistakenly think we have to have all the answers. When we put on the researcher mode, we can go in many, many different directions. And we can gather information and we can learn with and from the children. We often think the children learn from us, but when you're in this mode, you can learn so much from the children. Thoughts or questions on that? Comfortable? Want to go back on Monday and say, I'm a researcher? The more we start using this language ourselves, the more we transform our own work. Collaboration, also one of the 6 life skills, but a fundamental principle of Reggio. Collaboration in the fundamentals of Reggio is among all of the constituents in the environment. Collaboration takes place between teachers and children, between children and their peers, between teachers and other teachers, between teachers and families, and the school and the community. Do you see how multi-layered that is? The more we can get excited and passionate about something, the more we can post information. Do you guys do parent newsletters or blogs or updates? The more we can bring parents in, the richer our work becomes, because do they have expertise in different areas? Do they have different perspectives? Are they listening to their children at home? Everything gets bigger and richer and more beautiful the more we collaborate in this work. Fundamental is the role of the parents. Parents are active, engaged participants in children's learning. Is that a challenge here? Sometimes. The more we invite, the more we engage, the more we share stories of engagement, the easier it is for parents to come in. Back to our life skill of belonging. Is it hard sometimes for parents to see themselves belonging in an early childhood classroom, fitting in, what do I know, I'm not very good, I might not do the right thing? We need to help them feel safe and secure and belong. We want to find ways that open the door, invite people, welcome people, showcase people. And then what happens with diversity, what happens with culture, what happens with inclusion? One of the dads, he was from Guatemala, brought in real sugar cane and did tasting with regular sugar, brown sugar, sugar cane, things we might not have thought of in our research or have, but were comfortable within his cultural context. It added so much. So find ways to be inviting and sharing.